Welcome back to In Swineversation, 2023 World Pork Expo review with Dr. Casey Bradley. Welcome to the program, Casey.
Well, thanks for having me, Jim. It feels weird to be on the other side of the interview.
Usually you're doing all the interviews through your platform, and then at the World Pork this year, I know we tag teamed a little bit with the Sunswine Group and Swine Web. We talked a little bit about education, storytelling, and swine marketing. So how was the World Pork for you, and what did you want to accomplish at the show?
Well, the World Pork was really good to see a variety of people there from different countries. So we had that international feel back. So I really appreciated that. I would say it was probably not as busy as it has been in years past, but there was definitely enough people there from I wasn't able to get around to every booth, right? I wanted to do a better job diving in, meeting more companies, learning about the new techs out there, and I did not achieve that as much as I hoped. My goal was just to learn to see what was different, what was new, and of course, always catch up with friends, which I did. So, and that's the problem when I'm there. I have to come back home and do all my work post World Pork because it's really hard to walk down an aisle without getting pulled in a different direction, which I find fun and enjoyable, but challenging to balance the workload at the same time. So yes, I was there for business, but also friendships. So how was World Pork for you?
Pretty busy. What stood out kind of the first morning was, you offered me a ride when I had an Uber. I was waiting on an Uber. You offered me a ride, and I thought that was really nice because you didn't even know where we were staying and you were still willing to pick us up. But yeah, it started off great, kind of meeting you outside the media center. And then I thought it was a little busier than than I initially thought, but it was good just kind of meeting with people because I think it's like a central meeting place to get a vibe of what's happening in the industry. And how did you find the mood? I know there was three top of mind things: Prop 12, labor, and market conditions. Can you touch on that?
Well, definitely. I think Prop 12 was probably the number one talked about. It's interesting. I didn't hear as much as the labor issues. We still know it's relevant, but what I did hear around the labor discussions and what I did see in some of these innovations, and we can get in here later on it in further detail, but Merck's, right? 3-in-1 vaccine, making the labor more efficient in here and seeing all the tech coming out to hopefully help with labor efficiencies and utilizing our staff better. So I did see a lot of that. And I heard a lot of that verbiage, even in things like vaccines that you wouldn't hear talk about labor in the past, really focusing on bringing solutions for that labor component or that issue. Market conditions, this is where between Prop 12 and market conditions, I think it was kind of a gloomy mood from the standpoint on the producer standpoints. They're not making money. A lot of people didn't come because they're not making money. Prop 12, a lot of producers trying to figure out what they want to do. There's still mass miscommunication or confusion on what really it's going to be. And we can get in that later. But also, when we talk about market conditions, it's not just coming from the pork producers. We're coming from the feed additive suppliers. And, that impacts my business from the standpoint that I conduct research for different companies. And the fact that budgets are cut or tightened because, if pork producers aren't buying products because they're not making money, it's a downward spiral, and it impacts my business as well from that research component of people delaying trials to when market conditions are better and sales are up. So you see that pressure not only on the producers, but all these feed additives and the allied industry. Their costs of production have gone up on their products, and the profits just aren't there on both ends. So that's kind of the mood and things that I noticed that maybe a lot of people don't focus on, the vendors or the allied industry, hearing that from them. But it's been a slow year. A lot of people talking, even on the equipment side, but nobody really buying. And that's going to have some lasting impacts the next couple of years, especially for those equipment suppliers. people need to be Prop 12 compliant, but if they're not making money, they're caught between that rock and that hard place. So that's kind of the mood and takeaway that I felt there with the different groups.
So anyone who's not familiar with the Sunswine Group, can you give us a brief overview of what you do and how you've started even working with Swine Web?
Well, definitely. And I like to tell everybody I will do whatever pays the bills at the moment, but I really have some main drivers around what I do, and that's really focusing on providing innovative solutions and outreach for the industry in the forms of, if that's research and development, if that's continuing education, is that content creation and different things like that. So that's kind of where we focus on. We work with producers of all sizes, and we work with corporations on the allied side for our business. And well, obviously, I've been creating content, and many people are probably may or may not know the Real P3 and the coffee and careers and animal science programs that we've started. But we kind of got connected. Obviously, we work in the same genre, started talking, became friends, and now that's kind of led to how we're working together more. You can see my name pop up on Swine Web. So there's exclusive content where Jim used to share my podcasts and my pig progress articles or different things in the past. Well, now I'm producing exclusive content for Swine Web and your other outlets on the other species. So that's kind of where we're working together, bringing that technical marketing abilities from that storytelling you talked about and that education. It's just, I think, a nice fit for our two companies to start working together and bringing out some different content and capabilities for the industry, because storytelling, getting our messaging across all genres is extremely important today.
And some of that happened at the World Pork Expo. You conducted several interviews with high-level guests that you're going to be releasing. Can you give us a sneak peek about what we can
Yeah, so
expect?
I love high level guests. I just think we're all people. I try to hit a variety of people. I didn't go after the high level. I also try to focus on some of the smaller equipment suppliers, people who maybe don't get as much traction. So I went outside to the large equipment and got to see my lagoon crawler, and I'm like, oh wow, that's much better than the paddle boat I used to use. But things like that with Kuhn Industries, Wallinga, seeing the new nursery and wean pig transport, the 3 levels with a opening roof and things like that. That's really cool. Like I said, that goes into that what's best for the people, right? Loading these pigs, what's most efficient, getting these pigs across. And then working I'm going to get it wrong. I think it was Boss Equipment. They retrofit trailers to get new life. So reusing, repurposing, and I just dream of having manure trailers like I saw outdoors. So I visited some of those guys. We're going to feature some of the interviews on the Real P3, and then some written articles coming out in the next week. As I said, now I have to do the work. Everybody thinks I had fun and I just drank beer in the tents, but that wasn't the case. Now the real work begins, though, of really telling this story at World Pork. I like it to be organic and relevant. And so I don't pre-plan a lot, so I don't have a lot of canned articles. So that's kind of why it will trickle out. And the audios for my interviews will be released on July 15th in that series. So our July special will focus on the interviews conducted there. Also got to hear Merck. As many of you know, I grew up raising pigs. I've given one of my first paid jobs was to vaccinate, of all things, right? Cut tails and vaccinate with my dad. And so to work with vaccine companies coming up with solutions that make that easier for us, I really enjoyed learning about their new product. I already used Circumvent in the past for circovirus and things, so quite familiar with their vaccines, and to continue to see that evolution and that dedication to bringing new products. Just got done with the interview with Hyatt Frobos. We were both so busy at World Pork we couldn't connect, talking about Prop 12. So that's coming out. Caught up with Zach Rambo and talked about Zimpro on the nursery side. So they continued some of that research. So it's been over a year, 2 years ago now, that I ran the nursery wean to finish trial with Zenpro, looking at that nursery period and mortality. They have even more data now that will have come out. So those are, and then I also met a new company, which, and many didn't know, I was developing an app. I developed an app to help me on my research side, was hoping to sell it, and had a request by a pork customer to develop a biosecurity component to my application, and got to come across Farm Guardian Health and seeing the fact that facial recognition is going to be used for people, not pigs, and the biosecurity there. So it was really exciting to catch up with them. Did some other fun stuff. I did taste testing at Lucta. So, and also got to smell my flavor that I sent in. So I was helping them on their development side of a flavor. I'm not saying it's going to be as good as their cookie tasting, but maybe the pigs will like it more than the humans. So that is some of the kind of stuff that's coming out between articles. We're going to have some technical higher level stuff on gene editing and talking about vaccinations. And then we're going to have some fun stuff talking about equipment and stuff and different takes on equipment and technology that came out of the show.
What else did you learn at the 2023 World Pork?
Well, I think, what else did I learn? That's, you always learn something, I guess. I went around and it's really interesting noticing like everybody's pushing these free access stalls. So it's really interesting to see that evolution in that piece of equipment compared to when the first ones came out. So I do believe Cargill, when it was Cargill Pork down here in Arkansas, they put in one of the first free access stalls. And they did have some challenges with the parts wearing out and different things. And now seeing the different designs is really interesting. Also, the standpoint of patents and different things that a lot of these crates are starting to look the same. Just put somebody else's name on it on that, so that's a little disappointing. I still do like when it comes to free access, like the pig tech stall. I like the fact that for a short person trying to breed sows in a crate, I take the risk of having to open the back of the stall up to breed effectively a lot of times, and that's a risk that she's going to back out on me, get out, hurt me. But with their system, they have that drop down gate, so even little people like me can breed more effectively. So you would traditionally see on a breeding stall a lower gate anyways to help with that. But having that component in their free access, and the fact that if you were remodeling, you would just have to pop off that butt gate. So interesting things. Heading over to Osborne, I have my wish list. They got added to that with our nursery fire feeder. So really excited to, if all goes well, I'll have some of those in my research barn here in the future. But they had a innovative solution to the turnaround farrowing stall in a big plastic cage. I'm not going to knock anybody for trying and trying new things and innovating, but that I understand their footprint there a little bit. They were trying to be able to retrofit in the same square footage and just plop that in, and she has turnaround capabilities. But obviously, to me, it missed the mark a little bit on the employee. There's no way that I could get those pigs. I could vaccinate the sow. I could really probably even evaluate her physically in something like that. So it's interesting to see, and they're understanding their concept. I'm really curious to see where Osborne takes it, because they make some great feeders and they've been around for a long time. So I would say, as much as I'd say it's not something I'd use today, the fact that they're thinking outside of the box and where the idea came from and where they want to take it is really exciting. Because I guess even though it wasn't a win today for me, it's something I would purchase and put in my barn. It was showing me that we can think outside of the box, right? And not just about equipment, but just in general. And and finally wising up and being that stubborn person of climbing feed bins. I liked the harness equipment and the safety features that Hogslat's bringing out. As much as I'd like to have load cells and bin readers on all my feed bins, that's not the case. And sometimes we have to clean out feed bins, get up there and see if anything's clogged on the walls and things, and seeing some of that safety, right? A lot of things I said around making people's jobs easier, from either apps and technology to equipment. So learning that me being on my soapbox for the last 2 years on the podcast and pushing that, the people, and the industry pushing people to finally see it this year at World Pork, that the allied industry is listening, and not only listening and changing the marketing message, but bringing solutions for the people, was really exciting. Pork was still tastes great. I had some great smoked pork loins at the PIC tent for lunch, which in my household, pork is it's not something we get to eat every day with my husband's allergies. So really enjoying and seeing some neat dishes, different things like that. Some celebration, some happiness there. Like I said, running into people I haven't seen in a few years, even, and that's kind of exciting. And like I said, we talk all the time across the screen, messenger, you know, you name it. We're talking and communicating, but it was the first time to be with you in person, so that was kind of exciting.
Did anything else surprise you at the show, Casey?
And I guess kind of what surprised me a little bit was probably maybe the lack of producers there. I mean, I know there was a lot of producers there, but yet I think there was a lot less people from companies attending. I know markets are tight and different things, but I really think things like the World Pork is important to drive innovation and change in systems, because you get the opportunity to go out and learn from others, right? Talk to others. And that's how we learn. That's how we improve. And when money gets tight and budgets get tight, our first reaction is, oh, you can't go travel. You can't go do this. And to me, it doesn't matter what job you have in the industry. An event like World Pork's really important for you to broaden your horizons, hear different opinions, see new things. And I just would like the industry to really think about that in the future, that these shows are valuable. I've also heard the winter shows for the different states. Some of them weren't very well attended this year. And I do not want to see that kind of continue from the standpoint, yeah, we may need less shows, but, let's get on that mindset and allow our employees to learn and communicate and interact with different people, because I think you can see some optimistic return on investment that you don't think of. So that's kind of where I'm surprised and disappointed that it should be a big family reunion. The pork board did also great. I didn't throw this in, but I attended one of the Pork Academy sessions on gene editing. Once again, really nicely done with some of their training sessions they put together and the content they had at World Pork. So that was a nice, not surprising, but really good, timely topics that they put together for the attendees of World Pork as well.
Any other trends that you saw?
Everybody has a digital data app. Digital data. And I've been working a lot, so we do a lot of data analytics and we do data integration. Not only, we built the app to get data in, but with my team that I have here and then in Ecuador, we do a lot of custom data development or application development for people. And it's great to see all this data come in. But, one of the remarks I would have for producers listening is data is great. But if you don't use it to make decisions, or you're not going to use it to make business decisions, or you don't know how to, you need to figure out how, because more data is cool. These dashboards are fancy, but that data has to mean something and you have to have actions. And so that's constantly what I work with my producer customers, is from a nutrition perspective and a production standpoint, is yes, give me more data, but are we collecting the right data? Do we need this data? And then who needs to have access to it? And then, how do we use that data to drive business decisions? And that's something I think it's great to see, that we are getting more access to data. But the next step is, who's going to teach the industry how to use their data to drive better business decisions?
What about the future of consolidation?
Well, that's a topic I am concerned about. I feel with Prop 12 and the mood around that a little bit, that's driving that mindset. Will we have consolidation? Pork margins aren't good, and it's always these times of the industry that constricts, or that consolidation will happen, because the really successful ones that are making money will stay in business. The ones that are not will maybe have to exit. So where excuse me, where I see this maybe going a little bit is, I'm a little more optimistic for the independent guys than I thought leaving World Pork, because I think setting up for Prop 12, they may be able to deliver better than some of the really large integrated systems. They're maybe a little more conservative and maybe not as big, but can maybe be a little more nimble. But maybe I see with the larger to see more consolidation there, potentially changing that landscape, but really unsure. Rules has to be here coming in this fall to see what corn prices do, market conditions, but it's inevitable, I think, right now that we'll have some constriction and potentially consolidation with the current market and pork demands that we have today.
So the Real P3 podcast is making a return. Can you fill us in?
Yeah, so the Real P3, I worked very hard for 2 years of putting out an episode about every week around that. And I'm going to take a quick drink. One thing I did catch before we get into that at World Pork was a summer cold. So thus the voice and the sniffles. But I took a break. So I was working with Pig Progress on that. Great partners. I still write for Pig Progress. Great relationship. But they decided to go a different route. And so we're not connected with them anymore. We went independent. And I got to start working with different types of production systems. So this is a Swine Web interview, but I work with poultry, all the way from broilers, turkeys, and ducks, crazy little things, to now working with rabbits. I help on the swine side. I've gotten asked to do some goat work as well. So I've really kind of diversified my portfolio. But what I've really learned between that break and working with different clients, between either data or nutritional needs, is the fact that we need to talk more. There's ideas happening in different parts of the industry that would help swine or vice versa, right? And so with that break, I needed that mental break of content production. I needed to take some time to reflect on where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. The Real P3 will not be a moneymaker, most likely for me again, but it's something I felt the industry still needed. They needed that independent voice, because I listen to a lot of different podcasts out there, and nothing against my friends that have been successful, but a lot of them are starting to sound like a advertisement. So, what company's paying me to be on the episode today, or everybody's starting their own podcast. So we can say Carthage, Pipestone, everybody has a podcast now. It's cheap to produce, which I'll admit it's cheaper to produce than videos and different things. And with technology, anybody can do it. But the problem with that is that content's stagnant, or that's only one perspective. And I really felt the industry still needed an independent voice, needed different stories, different, I love the fact that you came out with education, if I get that right. And the fact that I think that's really important, right? We need to be able to communicate across platforms, across people. And so I felt the industry, and I felt myself as a professional, needed to keep the Real P3 going. So we are going to keep content coming out. I hope to provide something every month. And instead of doing weekly episodes, my plan is to do specials. And so the first release, which is happening in June, so the 15th of each month, we are going to just data drop, as I call it, data drop all of it at once into that series. So 3 to 4 episodes around a specific topic. The first topic being probiotics. So I interviewed people on pets, poultry, and then, product development and different things like that. So the P's are changing. But I wanted to bring that in is, my market still may be mostly swine people who listen to me, but hopefully it'll grow and hopefully we can cross relate and generate new ideas and have a different perspective of how we think about things. You know, the year before I spent a lot about the people. I think the people is still important, getting people's stories out, understanding you're not alone and that, you know, you have a tribe. And so that is why it's still coming out. Um, I'm gonna come out with some cool merchandise or merch for people to have to support it in different ways. But I think it's something we still need. And I may not have a huge marketing budget, but I do have the passion for agriculture and the passion to tell the stories that need to be heard and a passion to educate people on different topics. And so it may change the format. And I hope to be optimistic to say every month we're going to have a different topic to bring out, but no promises. So probiotics, and then July is going to be the follow-up of World Pork. So really excited. And that way you can binge listen. So if you want to listen to all of them and you're on a long drive, you can listen to the whole series and be caught up. Or if you like to listen to a weekly, you can take your time and listen to it. So that's kind of what I found with my audience anyways, is that people will listen to big chunks. Like they'll get behind and then they'll have a road trip or something and they'll listen to 3 or 4 episodes at once. And so I'm kind of meeting that listening demand or that noticeable uptake of our content that I noticed in the past. And so it's also going to make my life easier. I can plan around one topic versus going to 3 or 4 different topics in a month. So for my efficiency and my demands, because I am in barns on a weekly basis, I am interviewing people, I'm writing, I'm doing my business books and different things. So it's going to also help me be more efficient, but still have the opportunity to be authentic and provide real high quality content that's different than hopefully what's going to be out on other podcasts.
So we look forward to the release there in June for probiotics, and then July, the World Pork. And then
Yes.
we'll keep guessing on the coming months there.
Well, and that's where it's great. Throw out some ideas. If you're listening to this and you're seeing the video, I know there's a comment button. Put some ideas. What do you want me to bring you? What's different? I don't want to be on the same soapbox either. So I can tend to go down those paths when it comes to people and labor and different things. But yeah, I'm excited. It means a lot to me. It's about the heart and passion. And so the new tagline coming out from the Sunswine Group is science plus heart. You'll start seeing that badge come out as well. And that really defines me. Yeah, I lead with science and data, but passion drives me for the people and the animals of our industry.
So final take on the World Pork 2023, and what can we expect next year?
Well, World Pork 2023 was great. I had fun besides minus the cold. I'm optimistic. I had some good leads. I think you'll see a lot more writing come out. You'll see a lot more collaboration between the content I produce and Swine Web. So you want to get more of Casey Bradley and you're that tribe, well, definitely Swine Web is your outlet, I think, moving forward for that as well. But also expect for next year, I'm kind of concerned because it's the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and my son is a huge World War II fanatic. And we kind of promised to take him to France, and my husband really wants to go next year. So I'm kind of torn. Will I be able to hit the D-Day anniversary and have my son hopefully see the last remaining World War II vets? Or will I be at World Pork? So there's lots of content coming out, but I'm not sure Casey will be present at World Pork 2024. So I hope that doesn't leave a disappointment for next year. So
Well, at least 2023 was a good show, and next
oh
year
yeah.
we'll figure that out at that point. But
Yeah, I mean maybe have a red eye coming in from Paris to get it done.
well, this was really great. Dr. Casey Bradley, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. Have a pleasure.